You want a war? You're gonna get one.
Now get the guns, the drugs, to my generation, you'll take the fall. The stakes, across the nation, and it's a sex, the gods, the fakes, the fraud, they're messing with me. Come on, come on, come on, let's get it out. Move to the music, play that fucking music. Live through my music, yeah.
Welcome back to Reliving the War, everyone, and welcome to the 4th of October, 1999. Raw's in the New Jersey Meadowlands tonight, while Nitro takes place in Kansas City, Missouri. The WWF just presented their Rebellion pay-per-view in the United Kingdom, and the main story coming out of that show centered around Davey Boy Smith. Davey demanded his WWF title shot, and in a fit of rage, he ended up accidentally throwing a trash can into Stephanie McMahon's face. Stephanie was taken away on a stretcher while Davey went to the ring to hit Chyna with his running power slam. Bulldog then had a singles match against X-Pac, and he did manage to defeat the Kid, but he still wanted his opportunity at the WWF title. Vince, of course, was in no rush to give our hero what he wanted. The main event featured a steel cage match between The Rock and Triple H, and Davey's interference allowed Triple H to leave Rebellion still the WWF champion. Shane McMahon and the Stooges tried to stop Davey, but in the end Bulldog got inside the cage and he stopped The Rock from getting out. As punishment for what he did earlier, Vince locked Bulldog inside the steel cage with The Rock after the bell had rung, and the show ended with Bulldog taking a rock bottom and a people's elbow. This storyline's going to develop tonight on Raw. This week's Jam Up guys bought their shirts from chinlocks.com and they spreaded the good word of Reliving the War. First, there's Alex Sanchez, who attended an AEW event in Ohio. He and his friend Justin are big fans of Reliving the War, and Alex even got his Chinlock shirt on TV. And here's James Fretz, who met Chris Jericho in One Man Gang at Niagara Falls Comic Con. James rocked the Super Chinlocks 2 Turbo shirt. OMG prefers chokeholds over Chinlocks, it seems. Thank you very much, guys, and enjoy this week's episode of Reliving the War. Sneaky Sid Vicious watched Goldberg park his car outside the arena. He takes note of Goldberg's parking spot, so it looks like Mr. Vicious is going to get revenge for what Goldberg did last week. Tony Schiavone says this is going to be a special night for Bret Hart. Nitro's taking place in the same venue where his brother Owen had his fatal accident, and tonight Bret's going to pay tribute to Owen by taking part in a memorial match against Chris Benoit. Bret handpicked Benoit for this contest that's going to take place on Nitro tonight. The action inside the ring kicked off with yet another Dean Malenko vs Rey Mysterio match. Schiavone said Rey Mysterio was the only member of the Filthy Animals in attendance for Nitro tonight, so you know what's going to happen here. At this point in time, Dean and Ray had fine-tuned their match to the point of perfection. A main gripe of mine throughout this series is the fact that WCW in particular have a tendency to put on repetitive matches, but when it's Malenko versus Mysterio, I really don't mind at all. Their matches are always good. Ray survived a Texas cloverleaf and he sent Dean to the outside with a dropkick. While Malenko was recovering, Shane Douglas ran down to take out the referee and he planned on knocking Ray out with a chain wrapped around his fist. Saturn ran down to take the chain away from Douglas. Fans thought Perry had finally had enough of the franchise, but Saturn ends up doing the honours and Ray gets knocked out cold. Perry and Shane are on the same page. Malenko applies the cloverleaf, Ray's out cold. He then notices what happened while watching the big screen, and the Iceman isn't happy with his Revolution teammates. He apologizes to Ray for what happened and he raises Mysterio's hand in a show of respect, so the turbulence continues within the Revolution.
Disco fever, yeah, 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 yeah.
Disco Inferno took on new Cruiserweight champion Psychosis next on Nitro. Turner Broadcasting was getting a ton of hate for the West Hollywood Blondes angle and they wanted the gimmick immediately dropped. The GLAD organisation were responsible for the tag team's gimmick getting taken off TV, so WCW went ahead and they stripped Lenny Lane of the Cruiserweight belt. I honestly think taking the belt off Lenny was a step too far, but sure, what you gonna do, brother? I thought the company planned on rewarding Psychosis for removing his mask, seeing as the same pretty much happened with Juventud Guerrera and Rey Mysterio, but Psychosis missed his top rope leg drop and Disco was able to hit the chartbuster. Disco Inferno becomes Cruiserweight Champion for the first time in his career, and yeah, a bit of a surprising outcome here. It's not like WCW cares much for building stories around the Cruiserweight Championship anyway, so yeah, it's not a big deal. Big Sid's looking to do the same thing Goldberg did to him last week on Nitro. He's phoning a towing company and he wants them to squish Goldberg's car. Very original, big man, very original. Back in the arena, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash are seen walking through the crowd. The Outsiders are back. Hall and Nash take their ringside seats. Bobby Heenan goes over for an interview, and Hall gets a big pop when he says, "Hey yo, it's great to see the bad guy back in WCW." Heenan wants to know when Hall's going to return to the ring, and Scott says it's kind of funny how Nash has been bugging him to get back to work even though Big Sexy's working a retirement angle. Scott says he'll come back when WCW's fun again. Heenan says it's always fun around here, and Scott says Bobby hasn't spent enough time in the locker room. The Outsiders are busy right now, but when WCW becomes fun again, they will make their proper return. And Kevin Nash says he's getting the band back together. Raw kicks off with a fatal 4-way tag team match while Nitro continues with a Sid Vicious versus Brian Adams match. So we've got the Outlaws going up against X-Pac and Kane, the Acolytes and the Holly Cousins. The tag team championships were not on the line here, and within no time at all, the champs get counted out along with the Hollies. Yes, it was just a way to get these guys on TV and nothing more. The Acolytes then beat the hell out of X-Pac, so no real surprises here. He then gets a break and he crawls over to Kane. We think it's going to be a usual hot tag, but instead X-Pac tells the Big Red Machine to go F himself, and it looks like X-Pac wants to win this one on his own. Kane decides to get in the ring anyway, and all four men fight in the ring. X-Pac delivers a Bronco Buster to Bradshaw while Kane chokeslams Farouk. Kane covers Farouk just as Bradshaw covers X-Pac following a clothesline from hell, and the referee counts 1, 2, 3. X-Pac and Bradshaw were the legal men, so the Acolytes win this elimination tag team match. Kane tries to comfort Waltman, and Waltman acts like a spoiled brat, so we could be looking at an X-Pac heel turn very soon, which I don't think's a very good idea, honestly. Kid gets great crowd reactions, and I think the role he's in right now is pretty much perfect for him, but the WWF maybe think otherwise. On Nitro, I'm going to hazard a guess and say Brian Adams is getting punished for turning down the Kiss Demon character because Sid Vicious beats Brian in about 2 minutes. Adams did pull off a seriously impressive vertical suplex on the big man, which was kinda incredible, but he then pulled off his wonky pile driver. Why Brian kept these pile drivers in his moveset, I'll never know. Rick Steiner interfered in the match and Charles Robinson didn't call for the bell. And while Adams was able to stop Rick momentarily with a backbreaker, he ended up losing the match following a powerbomb from Sid Vicious. Kinda thought Bill Goldberg would have helped Brian out here, but no, he was too busy headbutting his locker backstage because he's in a match next against Jerry Lynn with an F. On Raw, the British Bulldog cuts a promo. So Davey comes to the ring wearing a Raw's War jobber shirt, but let's make something crystal clear right here. Davey's no jobber. He's closer to the WWF Championship than he's ever been in his entire life. Bulldog blames Vince for what happened to Stephanie. It was Vince who brought Stephanie to Rebellion, and it was Vince who put her in danger. Bulldog is not willing to apologise to Vince because Vince can't realise that it was really his fault. And Bulldog then blames Vince for booking him in a position where his fellow Englishman booed him out of the building at Rebellion. Davey announces he's going to face The Rock at No Mercy. Vince won't be able to deny Bulldog his shot at the WWF belt once he defeats the Golden Boy, but Davey then gets interrupted by Chyna, who, if you remember, got attacked by Bulldog at the pay-per-view. Chyna challenges Bulldog to a match tonight on Raw. She calls him Deputy Dog, which Davey didn't find very funny. The match is going to take place later on, so Chyna better find some chin protection. Jimmy Hart's still pissed off about Goldberg beating up Jerry Flynn a few weeks ago, so Billy Boy comes out to do the same thing all over again. Dusty Rhodes had Ric Flair, Bret Hart had Shawn Michaels, The Rock had Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Bill Goldberg had Jerry Flynn. Jimmy brought out Hugh Morris and Brian Knobbs to give old Lightning Foot an unfair advantage. The First Family gave Goldberg a decent enough kicking on the outside, but these guys are simply no match for Billy Boy. Fans wanted to see the spear and jackhammer, and that's exactly what they got. Goldberg wins another one on Monday Nitro, and quick side note, I love these faces Goldberg pulls off before hitting the jackhammer. It's like, oh, you want to see this motherfucker go up, don't you? Jerry uses his lightning feet to head back up the ramp while Goldberg cuts a promo. It's the same promo he's cut these past few weeks, but you can definitely tell WCW wanted to give Billy Boy more mic time. It was always an area he didn't excel in because he never really had to cut promos all that much in the past. Goldberg says Sid's going to get wrecked at Halloween Havoc, but again, if Sid wants to be a man, he can fight Bill right now if he wants to. Again, Sid doesn't show up, so Goldberg says Sid belongs to Billy Boy at the pay-per-view, and Goldberg's going to once again use the US title as a stepping stone to the World Championship. This promo made Scott Hall turn Asian, and it made Kevin Nash's fingers bend in extremely unnatural ways. The dangers of listening to a Bill Goldberg promo. Mick Foley sits down beside The Rock, and Mick thinks The Rock and Sock connection has run its course. The Rock agrees, but the Great One's actually speaking to someone on the phone while not paying attention to Mick at all. Rock's phone conversation aligns perfectly with what Mick's saying, and when Rock wonders who the hell Mick's talking to, Foley stands up and he says, "You're gonna be alright, kid." Mick then tells Stevie Richards that Rock had a lot of pain in his eyes a moment ago and it hurt Foley to see his partner that way, but Foley has an idea that will hopefully make everything okay. Test reveals that Stephanie has post-concussion syndrome and serious head trauma. So bad is this head trauma that Stephanie apparently doesn't recognize Big Andy anymore. This is a gift from the gods, my friend. You now have a free pass to call the wedding off, and you're a fool if you don't take it, Andy. Do what's right, my man. Mae Young and Moolah attacked Ivory in the backstage area. This would lead to a match later on that I might as well cover now, seeing as absolutely no one cares about it, and don't even pretend that you do. It was Ivory and Miss Kitty versus Mae Young and Moolah, and when Moolah won with a terrible roll-up, Jeff Jarrett, who was watching the match from the commentary desk, took it out on Miss Kitty. Kitty got put in the figure 4 leg lock as Double J further guarantees that he'll never get pussy again in his entire life. Anyway, next we've got Edge and Christian versus the Hardy Boys, while Harlem Heat cut a promo over on Nitro. This tag team match is part of a best of 5 series. Whoever wins the series will get the services of one Terry Runnels along with $100,000, and this just shows how awesome the Main Street Posse is. These boys didn't have to have matches to get Terry in their corner. The final match is going to take place at No Mercy. Edge and Christian are already 1-up, and they go 2-up here when Edge pulled off a rough looking spear on Jeff Hardy. JR tried to sell it like it was the greatest thing ever, but it looked terrible. Jerry Lawler, meanwhile, spent the whole match drooling over Terry while acting like a complete horn dog. Not one of the best matches featuring these 4 young cats, but we've got an absolute banger to check out at No Mercy. After the match, X-Pac explains that he didn't tag in Kane earlier on because he wants to prove he still belongs in the land of the giants. So he challenges Farouk Bradshaw and Kane to a 4 corners elimination match at No Mercy. Not sure how smart that is, to be honest, but it should be an interesting matchup. Mean Gene Okerlund announces a Harlem Heat vs Brian Knobbs and Hugh Morris match at Halloween Havoc. Sounds absolutely delightful. And Booker T reminds everyone that Harlem Heat are 9-time champions, while Stevie Ray calls Brian Knobbs a fat, out of shape, no good, milk drinking fruit booty. Absolutely unhinged. Booker then sends a message to the Outsiders. The tag team belt should be an incentive for Hall and Nash to come back to the ring, and Harlem Heat's ready for them if they do decide to come back. Stevie Ray says backstage politics stopped Harlem Heat from destroying the Outsiders in the past, but Booker and Stevie need to focus on their Halloween Havoc opponents as Hugh Morris and fat, out of shape, no good, milk drinking fruit booty complete tit Brian Knobbs run down for a fight. It looks like Harlem Heat aren't going to have any problems at all taking these 2 bozos out, but then Brian Knobbs goes a bit mental with his steel chair, and the shot he gives Stevie Ray in particular looked like it hurt quite a bit. The Outsiders watch on as the First Family end up getting the better of the tag team champs, and it all ends with Morris hitting the no laughing matter moonsault while Knobbs hits the milk drinking middle rope belly flop. After this beatdown, we see Goldberg heading back to his car. He doesn't wonder why a cameraman's following him, but I guess he's used to it. If Goldberg's leaving the arena, then that means Sid's plan for revenge has already been foiled, but we'll come back to this later on. On Raw next, we've got a Triple H promo while Brad Armstrong wrestles Curt Hennig over on Nitro. Before the Nitro match, Berlin called Brad a very nice and well-mannered man backstage, but because he spoke in German, Brad thought Alex said he was going to have sex with his mother tonight, so Brad got in Berlin's face before heading to the ring to wrestle Curt, and that means you know exactly what happens next. Brad Armstrong versus Curt Hennig actually sounds like a pretty decent match, but they were only given 2.5 minutes here, and as expected, Berlin came down to cost Brad the victory. The unnamed bodyguard punched Brad in the face, and Curt won with a perfect plex. Berlin delivered another post-match chinlock, one of my favourite things about Nitro these days. And also, during Curt Hennig's entrance, Tony Schiavone announced that Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara had joined WCW. The two writers would be chatting on WCW.com the following day to fans online. Big Sid Vicious gets told by Bert and Doug Dillinger that he needs to move his car. Police orders, apparently. But Sid gives Bert the keys and he tells him to move the car. He seems to be making the exact same mistake as last week. What an idiot. On Raw, WWF Champion Triple H is looking forward to facing Steve Austin at No Mercy. He plans on injuring Stone Cold again, just like SummerSlam. And Triple H says Austin has no guts, seeing as he didn't show up for Raw tonight. Hunter understands that there was an exclusive Steve Austin interview recorded last week on Raw and conducted by good old JR. So Hunter wants Jim to get in the ring right now so he and Hunter can watch this interview together. Jim hesitates. He remembers what Triple H did to him a few weeks ago, and seeing as that broken arm healed up in record time, he probably doesn't want to get it broken again. But Jim has no choice, and Triple H promises that nothing's going to happen to good old JR. Hunter sets up a chair for Jim, the interview plays on the Titantron, and in this interview Jim says he had a word with Steve's doctor and apparently Austin isn't cleared right now to compete in the ring. Stone Cold says though that he's going to show up at No Mercy whether he's cleared to compete or not. Austin motivates himself by playing the SummerSlam main event over and over again during his rehab, and Austin promises to give Triple H a little payback at the pay-per-view. Back in the ring, Triple H wonders what Austin really thinks of him. He wants JR to tell him what Austin thinks of the game, and while Jim hesitates at first, he goes ahead and he gives Hunter an answer.
He thinks you're an asshole. Uh-oh!
Triple H gets a little angry after hearing these words, but he accepts what Jim said. After all, this does sound like something Stone Cold would say, so yeah, no offense taken. Seeing as Triple H is the champ and Jim Ross is an esteemed broadcast journalist and commentator, the game wants to know what Jim Ross personally thinks of Triple H. Not what Stone Cold thinks, not what anyone else thinks. What is good old JR's personal opinion of the game Triple H? Jim Ross thinks that Triple H is a sorry, low-down SOB, and of course, this is enough to make Hunter almost take JR's head off. The WWF champ lays the boots in while mocking JR's catchphrases. He calls this a slobber knocker and he says business is about to pick up. And just as Hunter was about to destroy Jim for good with a steel chair, the WWF referees run out to stop the beatdown. Triple H seems pretty happy with what he accomplished tonight. The WWF champion sent a pretty big message to Stone Cold Steve Austin. Backstage, Mankind's playing dominoes with Clayton Ronner and Richard Brooks, stars of USA Network show G vs. E, and you guys tell me in the comments if it's any good or not. I've never watched it and I never will. Mankind says the dozens and dozens are big fans of the show though, as is The Rock, and Mick wonders who's got Yahtzee while also holding a card hand during this exciting game of dominoes. A little later we see Mick getting his makeup done because he wants to look his best for The Rock. Mankind has another surprise for the Great One and we'll find out what that surprise is right now. We also see a GTV segment that features draws thrown up in D'Lo's gear bag. This is the last time we'll see Darren on Reliving the War, seeing as his match with D'Lo that I talked about last week happens on tomorrow's SmackDown and Heat tapings. On Raw, we've got a Rock and Mankind promo, while over on Nitro, Juventud Guerrera takes on Billy Kidman. After chewing Rock and Mankind out last week on Raw for going too long, the chairman's given the Rock and Sock connection a further 17 minutes tonight on Raw. The number was too good, and Vince hopes to catch lightning in a bottle 2 weeks in a row. On the last episode of SmackDown, Val Venus used Mr. Rocco to put Mankind in a nutlock, and Mankind says he doesn't like it when other men touch his testicles, he didn't like it when he was an altar boy, and he didn't like it last week on SmackDown. The Dudleys also ripped up The Rock's jacket, so it wasn't a great night for Mrs. Foley's baby boy. Mick tells the stars of G&E to take a seat because they're about to be electrified. Mick has a special surprise for his buddy tonight, so The Rock comes out and he isn't impressed with his tag team partner. He wasn't impressed with the lousy guest that Mick arranged for This Is Your Life last week. He wasn't impressed that Mick lost Mr. Rocco in Rock's customized jacket. Mick now wants to break up the team, and just as Rock was about to say he never wanted to be in a team with Foley anyway, Mankind cuts him off and he says he knows Rock doesn't want the Rock and Sock connection to break up. Mick had second thoughts. He looked at himself in the mirror. Rock says Mick saw 280 pounds of monkey crop, but Mick says he made a decision. He's gonna rededicate his life and his career to the ongoing success and legendary status of the Rock and Sock connection. Mick doesn't care about the WWF Championship wins. He doesn't care about being a hardcore legend. He doesn't care about being the guy who fell off Hell in a Cell. He wants to be known as one half of the greatest tag team champions in WWF history, and Mick then begins a Rock and Sock chant. Mick says even though Test and Stephanie's marriage may have got cancelled, Foley feels like a marriage just took place right here in the ring. Rock says the great one isn't Kumsi Kumsa, and Rock doesn't want a piece of Mick's poontang pie. And Foley says he's no biology major, but he has no poontang to offer the Rock. As The Rock offers his rebuttal, the Y2J countdown appears on the Titantron and Chris Jericho interrupts the festivities. Y2J says he's here to stop this unfunny and boring promo, and he points out that Rock could be the female in this marriage, seeing as The Rock has a fascination with sticking objects up other men's rear ends. These two idiots should get married so they can ride off into the sunset together, never to return. And at that very moment, a fan dressed up in a sparkly Y2J shirt tries to get in the ring, but he's easily taken out by Mankind. Rock tells Jericho to keep his jerk-off dad out of the ring, which was a fantastic line, you gotta admit. Rock says Jericho thinks he's impressive because not too long ago he was, well, have a listen.
You were down south beating some jabroni named Juventud?
It's so good. Jericho lets everyone know he took off Juventud's mask, which just adds to the comedy. The Rock's firing shots at Juventud. Jericho's now interrupted The Rock twice. This is The Rock show. When Jericho tries to say the show's called Raw is Jericho, The Rock says it doesn't matter. The Great One was going to take the night off, but tonight Chris Jericho is going to go one-on-one with the People's Champion. Mankind tries to join in with a few of The Rock's catchphrases. The Rock isn't happy, but we now know that Chris Jericho is going to compete in his first ever WWF main event tonight on Raw. Before the Nitro match, a fully dressed Billy Kidman dashed out of the shower while Tori Wilson followed close behind. She gets washed while wearing a towel, while Billy gets scrubbed while wearing full gear. Actually, wait a minute. Maybe they weren't getting washed. Maybe they were.
He's an animal! An animal! An animal!
I was about to give off and complain about WCW booking another match we have seen a million times, but the last time these two actually met in the ring one-on-one was back at World War III '98. They did compete against each other on Thunder, mind you, but it just kinda shows how all these WCW mid-card matches begin blending into each other. Trying to remember specifics seems much harder these days. Highlights of this one included Juvi's diving Hurricane Rana, a dropkick from Kidman that sent Juvi out of the ring, and a people's elbow from Juventud Guerrera. Juvi also tells Rock to know his role while looking at the camera, and fair play to Guerrera for answering back. The only problem here is that, well, it's Juventud Guerrera. Psychosis showed up, but he didn't make things easier for Juvi. Guerrera accidentally wiped Psychosis out with a springboard dive, and moments later, Psychosis and Juvi were taken out with Kidman's springboard attack. Back in the ring, Juvi fights back though, and he has the chance to go for the 450, but he misses, and it looks like Kidman's not in a good position to win the match. For some strange reason, Rey Mysterio shows up when Kidman went back on offense. This was just bad timing really, because Kidman was just about to hit the shooting star press. The referee's busy with Ray, and Psychosis is able to hit Billy with a low blow, and this gets followed up with a Juvi driver. Juventud Guerrera gets the victory on Monday Nitro, but he takes a Bronco Buster from Rey Mysterio following his win. Seeing as The Rock's going to face Chris Jericho in tonight's main event, Mankind decided to team up with the new Dude Love for a tag team match. Mick and Stevie get jumped by the Dudley Boys, so that match is going to take place a little later on. Medics arrive to help Mick. I don't think they care much for Stevie. And look, it's that female medic again, getting more TV time than Steve Blackman this week. Meanwhile on Nitro, Bert's moved Sid's car, but he's only gone and parked it in Space 22, the same spot where Billy Boy parked his car earlier on. The tow truck appears seconds later, so it looks like Sid's just gone and screwed this one up. Next on Raw, it's Chyna vs British Bulldog, while over on Nitro, it's the Owen Hart Memorial match, Bret Hart vs Chris Benoit. Davey said earlier that there's too many women in the WWF right now, but his plan on bringing that number down a little doesn't start off too well. The Bulldog gets thrown into the ring steps, and after a few boots in the corner, Davey goes down after a DDT. Chyna lays in a few forearms before the British Bulldog takes a really unnecessary but still comically awesome corner bump. It looks like it's over already as Chyna signals for a figure 4 just to send a message to her upcoming No Mercy opponent Double J, but Jeff shows up and he smacks Chyna across the back with a coffee canister. The Bulldog gets disqualified and he grabs a microphone as Double J heads back up the ramp. Davey reminds Chyna that the WWF's no place for women before picking her up for a running power slam. He then gives Triple H 10 seconds to get out here and give him his WWF title shot, but Bulldog only gets the 3 before saying he lied. Chyna takes the power slam, so it's a bad night at the office for the 9th wonder of the world. On Nitro, Harley Race is on hand to announce Bret Hart and Chris Benoit to the ring. Harley and the commentators say they're honoured to be here for this special match tonight, and Schiavone also said earlier on that he's not watching this match as an announcer, he's watching it as a fan. Benoit's wearing an Owen Hart shirt while making his entrance, and Bret looks out to the audience as they chant Owen's name. The competitors hug, they shake hands, and the bell rings for what many consider to be the best match in Nitro history. We begin with side headlock and hammerlock counters. Bret stops himself from taking a monkey flip, and the two men shake hands again before going back to work. Benoit bridges out of a knuckle lock and Bret gets brought down with a straitjacket submission. Benoit then applies a standing arm submission that Bret successfully counters, and right away you understand that this is going to be a dungeon style match where emphasis is put on holds and stretches. Benoit tries to keep an armbar applied and Bret gets out with a Russian leg sweep. We then see a chinlock from Bret saying his Bulldog doesn't want to do any in the WWF. Benoit gets brought down after a kitchen sink and the Hitman lands a few heavy strikes in the corner before planting Benoit with a DDT. An elbow drop from Bret's rope doesn't secure the Hitman a victory, but it seems to wake Benoit up a bit. His transition into this Boston Crab looked fantastic. We take a commercial break following a backbreaker from Chris, and when we come back we see a suplex from Bret before Chris takes a backbreaker. Hart then looks for a pile driver, but a snappy counter from Benoit sees the Hitman getting planted on the mat. This allows Chris to go on offense for a little while, and Bret suffers a few of those knife-edge chops that he absolutely hated taking. Bret then smacks into the top rope pretty hard when missing a crossbody. This allows Chris to dive through the ropes and the Hitman gets wiped out. So far, this match has been fantastic as Nitro takes another commercial break, and we come back to both men trying to pin each other, but the match continues on. Bret targets the lower back for a while, he then delivers a swinging neckbreaker. He and Benoit go up so Bret can deliver a suplex, and the crowd give both men a big ovation as they stay on the canvas. Bret gets up, he goes for the sharpshooter. Benoit is able to counter with a crippler crossface, but Bret's way too close to the ropes. So Chris releases the hold and Bret takes multiple suplexes before Benoit goes upstairs for the diving headbutt. In any normal match, this would be all over, but the Hitman kicks out and again the crowd give both men a loud ovation. Bret delivers a pile driver, but it's not enough to put Chris away. Benoit replies with multiple German suplexes, and when Bret tries to answer with a suplex, Chris looks for the crippler crossface once again. This time we have a long struggle on the mat that Bret has to fight out of, but the Hitman manages to do it, the sharpshooter gets applied, and Chris Benoit submits. Bret wins an incredible match in the memory of his late brother Owen. Bret looks to the rafters of the Kemper Arena before hugging Chris. Chris seems just as emotional as Bret as the two prepare to leave the ring together. Bret gives one final salute to Owen before he and his opponent head back up the ramp, and Bret said years later that there was only one person in the audience for this match. It's a match that'll never get mentioned again at an official level. It'll never get re-released or included in any WWE top 10s, but it's an all-timer right here and you should go out of your way to watch it. It should have served as a wake-up call for WCW too. They had the talent capable of putting on excellent long matches if given the opportunity to do so. On Raw, Stevie Richards and Mankind faced the Dudley Boys. On Nitro, Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan cut a promo. We're going to see Flair and Hogan team up in the Nitro main event against Sting in the total package. And while it is noteworthy that Hogan and Flair are on the same team and it is quite historic, they don't say much here that's worth mentioning, though Flair does announce that he's facing DDP at Halloween Havoc. Hogan says Ric Flair's the man. Flair says this tag team match tonight is history in the making. Insane as Flair now hangs out with Hulk Hogan, he's going to say his prayers and eat his vitamins while avoiding nightclubs and bars. Probably a good idea, Slick Rick. Hogan says Rick's lying. There's no way he can go a few weeks without styling and profiling. The Nature Boys taught Hogan the figure 4 though apparently, and Rick gets all fired up while telling Hulk to rip off his shirt. Absolute insanity, but gotta admit, I kinda dig it. Unfortunately, that dick grabber Val Venus showed up during the Raw Tag Team match and he taunted Mick Foley by flopping Mr. Rocco around like a piece of dead meat. Foley naturally took offense to this and he walked up the ramp to fight with Mr. Venus, but the Dudleys followed Mick and Venus ended up joining the commentary table. All 4 men brawl on the stage, and while Stevie's happy to continue the match in the ring, his partner still wants a piece of Val Venus. Mick's attack is once again unsuccessful, but it goes to show how much he hates Mr. Rocco getting used in such a vulgar manner. Foley can't focus on the Dudleys. He does deliver his double arm DDT to Bubba Ray, but he decides to put the mandible claw on Val Venus. This allows the Dudleys to pull off a 3D on Stevie, and the Dudley boys win this tag team match. We're feuding over an airbrushed sock, ladies and gents, and somehow it's one of the most interesting things WWF has going on right now. On Raw, Davey Boy Smith gets called out by Vince McMahon. On Nitro, DDP takes on Buff Bagwell. Since Bagwell refused to put Berlin over at Fall Brawl, he hasn't won a match on TV. He says he's going to whip DDP's ass before the opening bell, but it only took Page around 3 minutes to hand Buff another televised loss. Kimberly Page watched this one from the back, and Kim's going to get a bit more involved in WCW storylines very soon. I have no idea what this move was supposed to be right here, but I know what this is. That's the real people's elbow. Buff gets out of a sleeper hold, he goes up for a blockbuster, he delivers the move, but somehow holding onto the top rope completely negates all impact. Page gets right up and he wins with a diamond cutter, so there you go. The moral of the story is simple. If you're told to lay down for Berlin, you lay down for Berlin. On Raw, Vince McMahon arrives to the arena. He heads straight to the ring where he calls out Bulldog. He doesn't care for Davey's apology earlier on. He wants Davey to come out and apologise to Stephanie for smashing her brain in with a trash can. Test, meanwhile, should be sending Davey a thank you card. Bulldog comes out and he says he won't apologise for something that was Vince's own fault, so Vince invites Davey to come into the ring for a fight and Bulldog says nah mate. The British Bulldog's taking the night off, and besides, no one can beat him anyway, so there's no point heading to the ring to fight this old dude. Our Raw main event features Chris Jericho taking on The Rock. On Nitro, Flair and Hogan take on Sting in the total package. The Nitro tag match starts off as a big old brawl. Hogan focuses on Sting while Lex takes care of Flair. It calms down with Hogan and Sting going at it inside the ropes, but as soon as Flair comes in, the Nature Boy gets wrecked. The Stinger lays the boots in before performing a hip toss and a dropkick, and when Nate gets a chance to go upstairs, he gets launched off the top turnbuckle as usual. Lex comes in with a big power slam before he and his partner kick the shit out of Rick in the corner. And it's so hard to get excited for this because you know what's coming up. There's no deviation from the norm, there's nothing surprising here even though there's 4 legit legends in the ring. We're building up to the Hulk Hogan tag and then DDP's going to show up. It's so predictable. After taking a lot more punishment that's not worth talking about, Flair finally tags out. Both Lex and Sting get taken out pretty easily, and when they try to reply, they go right back down following a double clothesline. DDP then shows up, but oh, here's something unexpected. Lex Luger accidentally hits Dallas with a low blow, and he puts him in an accidental torture rack. They didn't show it on TV, but Flair poked Lex in the eye, and therefore he's totally blind. He can't hear DDP shouting, "Hey, put me down please," because I don't know, reasons. Sting takes the big boot followed by the leg drop, and the team of Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair win this Nitro main event. A legendary combination, absolutely no doubt, but this match was awful. Backstage, Sid goes to get his car keys from Big Bad Bert.
Space 22, man.
22.
22! Oh, man! Oh, man!
Goldberg! Where are you? Why me? Why me? Why me?
The Rock says he's going to take Curtis Hughes, turn him sideways and stick him up Chris Jericho's candy ass. That would be quite the feat and something that I don't want to see The Rock attempt. Y2J performs a corner clothesline, but The Rock explodes out with a clothesline of his own. Chris replies with a facebuster, followed by the lion salt, but he doesn't go for the pin afterwards. Instead, he telegraphs a backdrop and The Rock's able to hit another clothesline. Jericho then shows off with a spinning wheel kick followed by a kip up. We then see a suplex and a double underhook backbreaker from the Ayatollah. Curtis Hughes takes notes as Jericho applies a devastating main event chinlock, but Rock fights out with a back suplex. Curtis trips Rock up and Chris looks for the walls of Jericho. Y2J applies his finisher and The Rock's in bad shape here, but he crawls to the ropes and he's able to break the hold. Hughesy distracts the referee while the competitors head to the outside. We go into the audience very briefly and it's Rock who gets the better of Chris here, but at the ringside area, Rock takes a clothesline before getting choked out with some TV cord. The lights then go out in the arena, but it's not Kane or the new Brood showing up. It's a legit power outage, but thankfully the production guys are able to get a few spotlights in the ring before full power gets restored. Jericho hits Rock with the ring bell while the referee's still busy with Curtis, and it's not enough to win the match. Rock gets up and Y2J takes a few shots in the corner. He then takes a DDT in the middle of the ring. Curtis Hughes pulls the referee out and the competitors go down after a double clothesline. Curtis puts a steel chair in the ring, but the plan backfires. Our match ends with Jericho taking a rock bottom on the chair, followed by the People's Elbow. The Great One wins once again on Raw's War, but the show ends with Bulldog launching another attack. Davey Boy targets The Rock and officials run down to try and maintain order. When Davey tries to leave the ring, Vince McMahon shows up to put him right back in. So the show ends with Rock getting the upper hand, but don't worry, I'm sure the British Bulldog will get his revenge. Nitro wins Reliving the War this week, and it was really because of the Owen Hart Memorial match. It's pretty insane that Davey Boy Smith's getting pushed on Raw so much, and all joking aside, I'm not entirely sure if he's the kind of heel that's going to sell tickets. It's just strange that they'd push a returning veteran in this manner while they already have a pretty stacked roster. Neither show was great this week, but Nitro put on a proper, long, technical wrestling match that beat everything Raw had to offer, in my opinion. And that's why I've chosen Nitro as our winner. Raw's on 109 points, Nitro's on 75, and we've got 20 ties on the board. In the TV ratings, Raw dropped to a 5.9 while Nitro dropped to a 2.9. WCW managed to drop even lower next week. Come over for the next episode of Reliving the War and you'll see the WWF invade the Georgia Dome. The Terry Runnels Invitational is going to continue. Triple H has another surprise for Jim Ross. And the future of the Rock and Sock connection gets put in jeopardy when Mankind gives Rock an ultimatum. On Nitro, Bret Hart and Chris Benoit form a tag team for the main event. We have a legendary showdown between Berlin and Norman Smiley, and Ric Flair issues a challenge to an old rival of his. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I'm going to plan a short break for the series very soon, but I'll keep you updated on what's going to happen. Again, thank you for checking out the show though, and please take care.